Hey guys, it's Stephanie. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a little different. I've never done a booktube video before, but I'm going to be having a lot of videos on my channel in December, kind of like wrapping up how 2021 went in terms of like my finances, my student loans, which is mostly what I post here. And I just posted about our house and how much we spent on that. So just kind of like end of the year wrap up type videos. And I thought this would be a fun one to throw in just for something different. I'm going to be going over some of my favorite books that I've read this year. I mostly read in the categories of contemporary romance, fantasy, and adult fiction. So I've read well over 30 books. My goal was to read 30 books this year, and I have finished that. It's currently like the first week of December, so I still have a few weeks to read even more, but I did want to get this video up before the holidays. And I am sitting on the floor of my library, so if you see Apollo or hear Apollo coming in and out, that's my dog. And yeah, I just thought it would be fitting to sit here for the video so that you guys can see my library and we can talk about books. So yeah, let's get into some of the books that I read. And if I'm looking down, I'm looking at my Goodreads account so that I can remember everything. I'm the kind of person who only the really, really good books stick with me, and some books I just read them and I immediately forget them. So I'm just going to go through and try to remember everything and give you guys some recommendations. So hopefully you guys have some good stuff to read. So let's just get started. Okay, so I started off the year with actually one of my favorite books that I read this year. I read Where the Crawdads Sing. That was the first book I read this year. And this is a really good book. I really enjoyed this. It is in the category of adult fiction. There's a little bit of like a romance in there, but it's kind of like a coming of age, sort of a semi-mystery in there too. I just thought it was really well written, and the story was very interesting. I hadn't read any story like this before, and I was very captivated of the main characters, just like whole story. I just thought this was really, really good, and I do think it's going to make a good movie one day if they do it justice. And we used to live in North Carolina, and we have been to kind of like the area, so I can just kind of like picture, all of that in my head. So yeah, I just thought this was a really good book, and I would definitely recommend it if you haven't read it yet. I know it's a very hyped up book, and I actually found my copy at the thrift store, and I've seen it multiple times at the thrift store since. So if you're looking to try to read this and you haven't yet, I would definitely check out your thrift store because it's probably there. Some of the books I don't have physical copies of because I read either on Hoopla or I did an audiobook. I did read 6 of the 8 of the Bridgerton series after watching the first season on Netflix. I was very hooked. Let me know if you were too. My favorite one of the Bridgerton series was the second one. I really loved Anthony's story. I really loved the enemies to lovers, the banter, that sort of stuff. So I'm very excited for the second season on Netflix. I thought that they did a really good job with the first book. After I watched the show before I read the books, and even after reading, there's some stuff that's different, but I do think they did a really, really good job. So I'm excited to see how they do Anthony's story. I didn't finish the series. I don't know why. I just kind of got a little tired of it, I guess. So maybe I'll try to finish the last 2 in 2022. We'll see. Oops. The next book that I gave 5 stars, I forgot to pull it down off the shelf, was A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. I gave this one 5 stars as well. I love this series. Sarah J. Maas is, some people really like her and some people really, really hate her. I just like the world. I like the characters in this story. Sometimes her writing gets a little bit repetitive in terms of the words she uses, but I just really like the characters, and I really enjoyed reading about, so this is the 4th book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, and so the first 3 books are about Feyre and Rhys, and this is about Nesta and Cassian, and I really love Cassian, so I was very excited about this book, and I thought it was very, very good. Definitely one of the spicier books of the whole series. This one is this is what I would call it, a fantasy romance book, and again, this one was definitely my favorite of the series. If you haven't read A Court of Thorns and Roses series and you are looking for a fantasy romance series, that is probably the number one that I would recommend. It's just very, very good. So I did read the Shadow and Bone series, and I watched the first season of the Netflix and then decided to pick up the series. Honestly, I really like the Netflix show, but these books were just okay. I liked the world, I liked the characters, I just didn't like how the story played out. Personally, I think the show is better, which I never say, but I really do think that, at least for season 1. So I don't know. I know a lot of people say that this author's other series is way better, so I do want to eventually read that. I think that's going to be on my list for 2022. But yeah, this is a fantasy series. I would call it young adult fantasy. It's not adult fantasy. It is good, but I just left it feeling disappointed, so I gave these, I think all of them, like a 3 out of 5, so definitely not my favorite, but it was still enjoyable. I also read both of Emily Henry's books this year, both Beach Read and The People We Meet on Vacation. Of the two, Beach Read was by far my favorite. I give this one 5 out of 5 stars. I thought this was super, super good. This is a contemporary romance. It's enemies to lovers. There's a lot of good banter in it. I thought the characters were really good. There's just also a lot of like depth to the characters and just like their struggles and stuff like that. And it was set in a West Michigan beach town, which is where Michigan is my home, and West Michigan in particular. I spent so much time there, so I could just like picture it, and it's just like a picturesque place to fall in love. So I just felt like overall this was a really amazing book, and I read this one first, and then I picked up her other book, People We Meet on Vacation, and this is a best friends to lovers romance, and I just didn't like it as much. I don't know, it was good, I enjoyed reading it, but overall, I think I gave it 3.5 or 4 stars. It just wasn't as good as this one. I do recommend both of them, but this one for sure was way better. So out of the romance category now, this is actually in a horror category, I suppose. This is the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. And this is a book I'd actually first started trying to do an audiobook, and I got kind of bored, and then I ended up finding a physical copy at the thrift store, so I picked it up. And sometimes I have a hard time doing audiobooks, but this one was slow to start, but the ending really made up for it. I've never really read a horror book before, and I just thought this was really interesting. I really liked the characters. The way it kind of came to end was really good. Like I said, the last quarter of the book was really, really fast paced, and the beginning of it was kind of just like all this build up to it. So this was really good. This guy has a few other horror books, and I do have 2 of his books that I want to read on my TBR for 2022, just because I did enjoy his writing style. And yeah, I would recommend this if you've never read a horror book. This one is about vampires, and it was really good. The next 5-star book that I read was my first audiobook of the year. It was The Tattooist of Auschwitz, and that was really good. And I'm actually really glad that I did it as an audiobook, because I just felt like it was even more impactful to listen to. It was very good. It was the retelling of a true story of the person who was the tattooist at Auschwitz, Birkenau, and it's a love story about how he met his wife in the concentration camps there, And it is just a very powerful, moving story. And I thought that listening to it, I was like on the edge of my seat. I drive like 30 to 45 minutes to work, and time just flew by when I was listening to that. So I definitely recommend that book. It would be like, I also read on Hoopla, another book that I ended up giving, I think I gave it 4.5 stars. This was just a romance book, Neon Gods. It's a Hades and Persephone modern day retelling. I thought it was very good. Definitely on the spicier side if you are looking for that sort of romance novel, but I did enjoy it. I will talk about 2 more of my 5-star reads and then a couple of the books that I picked up to hopefully finish in December. So I grabbed From Blood and Ash. This came on a recommendation from my sister. This is by Jennifer Armentrout. This is again in the fantasy romance category, and this book was really good. I was very captivated by this book. It's a really interesting world. It's sort of like vampires and sort of werewolves, but it's like a little bit different twist to it. I really enjoyed the 2 characters in this book, and yeah, I really like this. It was a really fast read for me, as well as the second one was a really fast read for me. And I do actually have the third one, and that one I am struggling to get through. It's just slower. I don't know why. But from my sister's recommendation, she said that a lot happens in the last little bit of the book. So I do really enjoy this series though. I gave the first one and the second one a 5 out of 5 stars. I read them so fast. I really, I do think I took a little bit of time to get through like the first 100 pages of this, but once I did, it picked up really fast and I was hooked. So if you like fantasy books, particularly fantasy romance, this is definitely a good one. And then the most recent book that I just finished, I literally read this in like 5 hours. I read it so fast, was The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This was super cute, kind of like a grumpy guy and a sunshine girl, that kind of trope. Not really enemies to lovers, sort of, I guess. A fake dating trope as well. And I like the sciencey aspect of it. They're both in like, she's in like her PhD program and he's a professor, and I just thought it was just a really cute, good story. I really enjoyed it. So it was a really good, really fast read, contemporary romance, obviously. Anything with these like cartoon character covers, I just think the books are really cute. I don't know, it makes you feel like less like you can read this in public and not be so judged compared to like the romance covers that are just like shirtless men. Anyways, I did really enjoy this. I would definitely recommend it. So for the rest of December, I have 3 books that I would like to try to finish this month. I'm hoping to get to. Like I was saying, this is the Crown of Gilded Bones, which is the 3rd book in the From Blood and Ash series. And I was just saying how I was struggling a little bit getting through it. I'm about, I would say, almost halfway through it, and it is definitely still slow through halfway through it. I don't feel like much has happened in 300 pages, to be honest. I have heard that this author doesn't have an editor or doesn't use an editor, and you can really tell. This book is long, and for 300 pages to have gone by and nothing to really memorable to me to have happened is a little insane. So I'm hoping it ends really good, because the first 2, like I said, I really enjoyed. So I'm hoping that the 3rd one is still finishes good. And then these last 2 books that I'm hoping to finish this month that I've heard only good things about is The House in the Cerulean Sea, and this is a fantasy book. It is, I'm not totally sure about it, but I have heard really good things about it. I really like the cover. So I hope I like this one. I've heard that it's a nice, like happy read. And then this will be my very first Colleen Hoover book. I've actually never read anything by her before. I know she is like one of the top like romance authors, but I actually have not picked up anything by her. So I'm very excited. This is a romantic thriller. Yeah, I'm excited to see how this is. I've heard good things about it as well. and I hope it is good for my very first Colleen Hoover book. If it is good, then I feel like I'm in danger because she has a lot of books, and if I like this one, I will probably be interested in reading a lot more in 2022. So there you go, you guys. I hope you enjoyed seeing this sort of different video for my channel. Let me know if you agree with any of my recommendations, if you've read any of these, what you thought. Let me know your favorite books of 2021 so that I can put them on my TBR list for 2022. I'm hoping to read at least 30 books next year again or more. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, don't forget to give it a like and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.